Since its release, The Dark Knight has been hailed as one of the greatest superhero films ever made, redefining the genre from the over-the-top and ridiculous perception it had throughout much of the 90s and early 2000s to one of sincerity, drama, and grit. As exemplified through films like Logan and Captain America the Winter Soldier, The Dark Knight has become the standard against which all other films in the genre must stand, and its popularity still persists today as the film maintains a stronghold over much of cinematic discourse. Its reputation is enduring and will likely cause the film to go down as a classic if it hasn't already. But despite this gargantuan perception, it has still seen its fair share of criticism. Many often critique its, perhaps, overly realistic style or claim it has shallow themes. However, one of the most common criticisms is that its characters, outside of the Joker, are boring, especially the protagonist, Batman. Whether this opinion is absolute or in comparison to Heath Ledger's unhinged and chaotic Joker, it reveals an important apprehension many have about the film that only exacerbates the perception that the Joker is the sole reason the film works. But today, I'd like to challenge those who believe that. If you're willing to give me just 8 minutes, I think I can change your mind.
You either die a hero, or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
We are in very serious trouble.
Look, Jeffrey Dahmer was eating the shit out of niggas' heads.
He's the one.
The Dark Knight revolves around the ideological battle between Batman and the Joker, with the Joker expending every move in his arsenal to reveal Batman's hypocrisies and push him down a path of darkness. He tries to bend Batman in every way he can, and even though he often seems to get close or achieve minor wins, he ultimately fails every time. Batman displays an unbreakable resolve, unwilling to bend his morality to the whims of anyone, especially someone like the Joker. He casts aside much of his own desires to the point he doesn't even seem to have them beyond the playboy billionaire facade he presents to the public. In reality though, he does have desires for himself, but he suppresses them in an effort to accomplish the, perhaps, impossible goals he has to save Gotham. After witnessing the death of his parents, he dedicated his life to cleaning the crime-ridden streets that created and perpetuated the conditions that allowed such a heinous act to happen. In time, he also discovered Harvey Dent, a strong district attorney who had a similarly hopeful and seemingly incorruptible outlook on Gotham, a rarity in such a corrupt place. Batman believed that someone like Harvey could finally bring the city out of this endless despair and into a new, hopeful era, what seemed to be Batman's ultimate goal.
Harvey is that hero. He locked up half of the city's criminals, and he did it without wearing a mask. Gotham needs a hero with a face.
But as I said, while Batman appeared to have this incorruptible desire for the prosperity of Gotham, even at the expense of his own life, he did have his own desires, most prominent of which was his love for Rachel. In the face of one of Gotham's most chaotic stretches during his tenure as the Caped Crusader, the Joker confronted Batman and presented him with a choice.
Killing is making a choice.
Where are they?
Choose between one life or the other. Your friend, the district attorney, or his blushing bride-to-be.
He had to choose between Harvey and Rachel, a decision that personified Batman's own struggles. His conflicting desires to promote prosperity in Gotham, illustrated time and time again through Harvey Dent's glowing crusade on the city's deep criminal underworld, and his personal, more selfish desire for a life beyond his time as Batman, illustrated through Rachel, his lifelong friend whom he had pushed away to focus on the previous goal. Here, we develop Batman through choice. He can no longer have both desires, but is now forced to reveal which one has ultimate hold over him by casting aside one in favor of the other. With little hesitation, Batman chooses Rachel over Harvey, revealing an underlying selfishness and hypocrisy within him. In choosing to save Rachel over Harvey in such a clear, unambiguous choice, with full understanding of the potential consequences of such a decision, in a moment where the goals he had been striving towards throughout the previous scenes in the film were put at a definite and extreme cost, that being the life of two of his closest allies, and, by extension, the symbols of his conflicting desires, we learn that one of Batman's most defining traits, his love for Rachel and desire to live beyond his time as Batman, is even stronger than his, up to this point, seemingly unbreakable desire to improve Gotham, represented by its White Knight, Harvey Dent. But, of course, the Joker tricked him. He lied about Rachel and Harvey's locations, forcing Batman to not only reveal his own priorities, illustrating Batman's hypocrisies to himself, but also to continue being Batman after making that decision and his control of the situation and its consequences irrelevant. The Joker wanted to force Batman to acknowledge his own hypocrisy while also taking away the very thing that made him hypocritical. He didn't just want to push Batman, he wanted to corrupt him, to break him beyond repair.
You truly are incorruptible, aren't you?
As Batman arrives at 250 52nd Street, we see one of the film's most overlooked moments. When he sees Harvey instead of Rachel, Batman's face reveals in a single frame the magnitude of his loss.
No!
He realizes that that which he holds closer to him than anything else is gone, that he's seen her for the last time, that no plans he has for them can become reality, that no matter how much good he has ever done or will ever do will change the fact that he failed to protect her. He's lost the most important person in his life, and he'll never be the same again. This despair, however, was not unique to Bruce. Rachel also thought that he would save her. In a moment that closely mirrors Bruce's face upon seeing Harvey instead of her, Rachel's face upon realizing Bruce was saving Harvey illustrates, to me, perhaps the saddest moment in the film.
No, not me! Why are you coming for me? No!
This is a face of surprise, conveying a feeling of confusion and betrayal. What was she thinking when she realized Bruce was saving Harvey? Did she think he was being spiteful? Did she think he had fallen out of love with her? Perhaps, in her last moments, she died disappointed and confused, believing Bruce had left her to die, or that his desire for justice and a brighter future for Gotham was even greater than his desire to be with her. She died wrong, though, with incorrect perceptions about Bruce, who, at the same time, would also be unable to tell her otherwise. After Rachel's death, Bruce is left incomplete, believing, whether correctly or not, that Rachel died thinking of him in a way that simply wasn't true. He meant to save her. In his decision to save Rachel over Harvey, he was willing to hinder or completely sacrifice the possibility that Gotham would finally climb out of the darkness he had been fighting for years. But no matter how much he may want to, he'll never be able to tell her that. This scene shows the expected and unexpected consequences of our decisions, as well as the misinterpretation that comes with them. The reactions tell more than words ever could, and reveal the underlying weight and repercussions of each of the characters' decisions and relationships, especially Batman's. As Rachel said in Batman Begins, it is not only who we claim to be, but it is our actions that define us. People remember us by what we do. They describe us by what we've done rather than simply what we've said. And oftentimes, whether we mean to or not, the consequences of those choices, even if they are unintended, dictate how others perceive us and how we perceive ourselves as well. This scene may not get as much attention as many others, but it adds a great deal of character and thematic depth to the film that many may have initially overlooked, and further justifies The Dark Knight as the best of its genre. Thanks for watching.